The World Cup draw is out. We know who's going to be in each other's group. I am so excited. Mexico has a tough group. USA has an interesting group against England. We'll break down all the groups and what are the most entertaining matchups. Also, Alcaraz into the finals in the Miami Open. This kid is ridiculous. He has taken the tennis world by storm. Lakers lose to the Pelicans. Their season is over. I can't believe I'm still watching Laker games. It sucks to be a Laker fan right now, but at least this season's over and we can move on to next season. Hopefully changes happen, but man, what a disappointment. Also, I got to talk about my boy Giannis putting on a show against the Nets. Middleton getting ejected. KD, Kyrie on the other side. It was not enough. The Nets, man, they're going to struggle to even make the playoffs now. And if they make it, the Bucks might be waiting for them. That's going to be a crazy series. We got to talk about that. Also, Kaepernick works out for the NFL in the halftime of the Michigan spring game. Will he make it back to the NFL? It seems like a long shot, but there is a couple teams that should have some interest in Kaepernick. All of that on this episode of the Hard to Handle Sports Podcast. Let's get started. We are about 7 months away from the World Cup starting in Qatar 2022. I am so hyped. Now that the official draw is out, I'm even more hyped. It's becoming more real. We only have a couple playoff spots left, and they're going to be in Group B with USA, Iran, and England. And then there's another one that's in France, Denmark, and Tunisia. And then there's one more that's going to be paired up with Spain, Germany, and Japan. So for the most part, most teams know who they're going to play. They have their dates and all that good stuff. I'm so pumped up. Like, it's really like we're really basically done with, you know, the qualifiers and the qualifying into the World Cup. The playoffs are almost done. The stage is set for Qatar 2022. And if it would have been any other World Cup, it would have been just a couple months away in June. But because it is in Qatar and it got pushed to November, you know, we still got to wait a little bit longer. Hopefully no more injuries happen and everyone gets to go strong into this World Cup. But I'm super pumped up. Some of the matches, let's just go through the groups. Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, and Netherlands. That's the host country, Qatar. Ecuador has been playing good. Senegal has some good players. Netherlands is always a dark horse. Interesting group. Pretty even, I would say. I don't think Qatar gets out. If anything, it's going to be a battle between Ecuador, Senegal, and Netherlands. In Group B, this is where it starts getting very, very interesting. England and the U.S. in the same group again, a rematch of 2010 where they drew 1-1. We all know that terrible mistake that the England keeper had. Iran, we'll see if they're able to do anything. And the Euro playoff, I believe, is going to be Ukraine, Wales, or Scotland. All of them could be, you know, tricky. I do see the U.S. and England making it out of the group regardless of whoever makes it. Wales would be interesting. They got that Bell factor, and he plays different for Wales. But interesting group, England versus U.S. the day after Thanksgiving on Black Friday. I think that's a matchup that we're all looking forward to. That's going to be insane. I'm definitely going to watch that. That's one that when the draw came out, that was blowing up Twitter. That was, you know, everyone's England pundits were saying, oh, that's a good start to the draw, getting the U.S., you know, easy pickings. And then American pundits and just casual American fans were, you know, referencing like the independence and all that good stuff. So it's going to be great banter. It's going to be a lot of fun to see the U.S. go up against England. In Group C, Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Poland. Argentina and Mexico have a lot of history from the 2006 round of 16 and the 2006 and 2010 round of 16. Argentina and Mexico have met up in the World Cup. They have met up in Copa Americas and other tournaments. They have a lot of history. Mexico versus Argentina. Hopefully for Mexico, they're able to, you know, avenge some of their past defeats to Argentina and do good in this group. Saudi Arabia, interesting team. Poland, interesting team. It's a pretty decent group. I think Mexico and Argentina should be the heavy favorites to make it out. And maybe Poland has some things to say about that. And Group D, France, a playoff spot. Denmark and Tunisia. I forget which playoff spot this is, but I know that I'm pretty sure that it's gonna be France and Denmark that make it out of that last playoff spot. And in the Group E is the one that's tough, man. This is probably the group of death. This is a stacked group. You got Spain, Germany, Japan, and the IC playoff 2, which would be Costa Rica or I think it's New Zealand. I think Costa Rica makes it to the World Cup. So you got Spain, Costa Rica, Germany, and Japan. Just that's a very tough group. I like Germany and Japan, Spain. Like, these are all really good teams. I think I'm gonna have to go with my CONCACAF nation. I support the U.S. I support Mexico. They're going through to the World Cup. I would like to see Costa Rica, rep North America, and hopefully they're able to pull a 2014 where they had Uruguay, Italy, and England in their group, and they still made it through and they topped the group. So hopefully, if there's any Costa Ricans watching this, I'm rooting for you guys. I know it's gonna be tough with Spain, Germany, two of the last 3 World Cup winners in the group, and then you got Japan, who are always a tough team. But realistically, it'll probably be Germany and Spain that make it through. But I would like to say that Costa Rica has a dark horse chance to make it through, just because they finished the CONCACAF qualifier on a streak, man. Out of their last 7 games, I think they won 6 and they tied 1. The one tie being Mexico at the Azteca, so that's very impressive. They're getting into form. I know it's a CONCACAF team, so people are gonna ignore them, but we'll see. Hopefully, they at least make the World Cup. I think it'll be nice to have 4 CONCACAF teams in the World Cup. Group F, Belgium, Canada, Morocco, Croatia. This is another very strong group. Belgium, they've been dark horses for like the last 2 World Cups. I think this is the last chance they have to really make some noise. Canada took the CONCACAF qualifiers by storm. They led throughout. They have a really young, really fast team. I think they could make some noise. Morocco, don't know too much about Morocco, but I don't expect them to make it out of the group. And Croatia, the World Cup finalist 4 years ago, coming to see if they have one last hurrah with Modric, pulling the strings at the ripe age of 37, 36. We'll see how they do. That's another interesting group. Group G, Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, Cameroon. I think Brazil is the heavy favorite in that group. And honestly, all the other 3 teams could duke it out for that second spot. And in the last group, Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, and Korea Republic. That's a very even group. I'll say too. Uruguay, they're known to have some good World Cup performances. Portugal with Cristiano Ronaldo's probably last World Cup. That's gonna be a lot of fireworks. Ghana are always a great African country that represents Africa well in the World Cups. Korea Republic, who beat Germany last year to eliminate them in the group stages, it's gonna be a tough group, but there you have it. Those are your groups. That's your draw for the World Cup. Man, I'm so pumped, dude. I'm so pumped. Now that the draw is over, it feels more real that the World Cup is imminent. It's right around the corner. It's at the end of the year. Super pumped up. What do you guys think? Who's gonna make it to the final? I think the way the knockout works is A and B play against each other, first and second, C and D. So potentially Mexico, if they win their group, they could go up against Denmark or Tunisia or whoever that last playoff spot is. But if they don't, then they would play against the world champions in the round of 16, which would be kind of tough because Mexico hasn't made it out of the round of 16 in a long time. But we'll see. What do you guys think? Are you guys excited? Do you guys like your country's draw? If your country's not in the World Cup, I know there's a lot of nations that got left off. Egypt, I feel bad for Egypt. Colombia, Chile, Panama, El Salvador. There's a lot of people that I know, a lot of nations. Italy. There's a lot of nations that got left out. It's hard. The World Cups that are coming up are gonna have more teams in them, so you gotta look forward towards that. But if your team is not in the World Cup, what nation are you rooting for? Are you not gonna watch the World Cup? Are you gonna be a little salty? Let me know what you guys think. But I'm super pumped up for the World Cup. I'm glad Mexico made it. I'm glad the U.S. made it. I'm gonna support both teams, and we'll see how far they go. And I'm just pumped up, man. The World Cup is just pure festivities. It's a great time. It's a great month. It's the biggest sporting event in the world, and I just can't wait for it to be here. Carlos Alcaraz is in the final of the Miami Open, and this guy's just ridiculous, man. After every game that I watch him, I'm just like, wow, is this guy serious? How is he gonna top it? And then he just has a better game, and he's just really maturing in front of our eyes. That game against Tsitsipas, where he was down 5-2 in the first set and wins 7 straight games, takes the first set 7-5, takes the second set 6-3, and you're like, damn, he did that to the number 5 player in the world. That's crazy. And then he plays against Kekmanovic, and he loses the first set in a tiebreak, and you're like, okay, like, this guy's Kekmanovic is kind of hot right now. Like, is Carlos Alcaraz gonna be able to reel this back in? And he does, wins the second set 6-3, and then that third set was just absolute magic. If you guys did not watch that game, I suggest you guys, watch some highlights or figure out a way to watch the replay of this game, because that was probably the game of the year. Amazing, amazing game. And then the semifinals, he plays against the defending champion at the Miami Open, Hurcads, and a very competitive game, absolutely competitive game. It could have gone both ways. Hurcads definitely had his moments where he could have, if one or two balls bounce his way, or he's able to, return a couple hits, then we might be seeing a different result. But he wins 2 tie breaks to win 7-5, 7-5, or 7-6, 7-6. And now he's in the final, and he plays against Casper Ruud in the final of the Miami Open. Just incredible stuff, how this guy has gone from playing qualifiers at, like, around this time last year in Portugal to playing in the final of the Miami Open. And if he does win the Miami Open, if he beats Casper Ruud tomorrow, he will be the youngest Miami Open winner ever. Whew, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. He's the second oldest Miami finalist behind Nadal, I believe. But Nadal didn't win it when he made it that young. He won it, I think, like a year later or something like that. Carlos Alcaraz, if he wins it this year, he would be the youngest Miami Open finalist, and now he's up there. I think he's the youngest to make the semifinal in both the Miami Open and the Indian Wells, and he just made the semifinal this year in a tough, grueling match against Nadal. That was just crazy stuff. So I'm so excited to see Alcaraz mature as a player. Like, you just see him, the way he plays, the way he keeps his composure is just absolute class, man. Like, he doesn't lose his composure. I like how he, after every big point, he just looks at his box and just gives him like that face. And he's like, yeah, I got this. I'm super concentrated. And man, I love the kid, dude. The way he does those drop shots, he like that. I think that's his signature shot. Obviously, he has a wicked forehand, and he could push you off the court and make you run from side to side. And so that's like his signature shot too. And his serves are getting a little better. But I think that drop shot, the way he disguises it and he just pushes it, that's incredible. Especially when when there's a long rally going and you're just, exchanging backhands, exchanging forehands, and then out of nowhere you just see Alcaraz hit you with the drop shot, and it's just exquisite. This guy's ridiculous, man. I'm just over the moon that I get to watch this guy, and he's 18 years old, and there's a lot of people that were kind of scared about what was going to happen to tennis once Djokovic, Nadal, and Federer retired, and obviously that's a very valid concern to have. I worried myself, like, these are like the GOATs, and it does seem like they've been carrying the mantle forever. Carlos Alcaraz looks like he's ready to shoulder most of that weight. He's ready. I'm still trying to figure out who's going to join him. Not going to lie, Kekmanovic gave me a lot to be happy about too. That match was just incredible. Kekmanovic, 22 years old, Serbian. We could keep the tradition going, Spanish and Serbian going at it. Alcaraz, 18 years old. Kekmanovic, by no means is he old, but he is 4 years older than Carlos Alcaraz. But they could have a nice rivalry going. We see, I thought Felix FAA was going to, break through this year. He started really hot. He's kind of slowed down as of late in this last month, but we'll see if he's able to pick it up. I think he's only like 21 years old. So I think there's a lot to be happy about this next generation. This next generation, we'll see what happens with this next generation. Tsitsipas, Zverev, Medvedev, they might have choked their time away, man. Not gonna lie, they might have waited too long for the GOATs to retire, and it just looks like Carlos Alcaraz is ready to just beat them to the limelight and take the mantle. It doesn't look like Tsitsipas or Zverev or Medvedev are really gonna have a time to share the mantle, to share the top of the mountaintop. It kind of feels like once the big three is done, the heir apparent, the one that's going to take it by the reins and, be there to lead the charge, it looks like it's going to be a Carlos Alcaraz. And I'm happy, man, because he's a real stand-up guy from what I've seen. He looks like he has his head right on his shoulders, and his tennis is just spectacular. And I'm not going to lie, I am completely 100% rooting for Carlos Alcaraz in the final tomorrow against Casper Ruud. Casper Ruud who's had a great tournament himself too, who's kind of debunked the theory of just being a clay specialist, and he's had a hell of a run, beating Zverev and beating other tough opponents. I just think Carlos Alcaraz is the future, and the future is now. So I'm very excited to see the final, and I just want to give Carlos Alcaraz his props for an amazing tournament and just giving us all these highlights, man. I've had such a fun time watching this kid play, and I'm super excited to see him go into the clay season where he should be, one of the favorites. He's already the betting favorite. He's the third highest betting favorite for Roland Garros behind Djokovic and Nadal. So it tells you what the bookies think of Carlos Alcaraz. He is the next big thing, and you better be ready and hop on the bandwagon, hop on the wave. He's here, man. Carlos Alcaraz is here. And I can't wait to see him do even more great stuff. And good luck to you against Casper Ruud in the finals. But let's change up the mood a little bit. Carlos Alcaraz has been great. He has a great future. But a team that does not have a bright future, my Lakers. The Lakers lose to the Pelicans 111 to 114. They are now basically eliminated from playoff contention. They won't even make the 10th seed and squeeze into the play-in game. It is a sad, sad day for the Lakers. What has happened to the Lakers, man? From being a championship team to a team that, missed the playoffs because of injuries, and now this atrocious team that can't beat the Pelicans. The Pelicans who they traded to their young players to get AD. The Pelicans who, don't have Zion, who are struggling to convince him to resign, who don't know what they're doing. These Pelicans are going to make the play-in before the Lakers. With LeBron scoring 30 points per game is just so sad, man. I'm lost for words. I can't believe I can't lie that I didn't see this coming, but I didn't think it would get to this point. I did think that the Lakers probably weren't deserving of a playoff spot, and at worst, at best, they were gonna make the play-in and sneak in as the 7th or 8th seed. And then as the season went on, it felt like, okay, thank God for the play-in, because there's no way we would have crept up to the 8th seed, but we could still manage teeter around the 9th and 10th seed, and then we're good. We still have a little cushion between us and the 11th seed, but nope. Now we don't. Now there's like 5 games left, and the season's over. Basically, mathematically, we got to run the table, and the schedule is super hard. There's just no way. The Lakers are incapable of getting on a win streak. They suck right now. It's terrible. That team is atrocious. And maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing that the Lakers missed the playoffs in this terrible fashion. They got the Nuggets, Suns, Warriors, Thunder, Nuggets. They got to beat the Nuggets. They got to run the table to have any type of shot. And the Nuggets are still fighting for playoff spots. The Warriors are still trying to, turn their season around because they've had an atrocious second half of the season. They've been bad since the All-Star break. The Suns are the number 1 team in the NBA. Like, it's just not gonna happen. It's time to give it up. I've been toxic optimistic this whole season, just thinking that maybe they'll turn it around. Maybe AD is gonna find his groove. LeBron is gonna keep playing. Westbrook is gonna show those glimpses that he showed at the end with the Wizards. I was a toxic optimistic, but now there's no way, and we must just accept that this was the wasted season. And I don't know, man. It's just tough. It's tough to accept defeat. It's tough to give up. I mean, it's obviously it's done. Like, there's no way the Lakers make the playoffs, and we got to move forward. We got to see what we do with Vogel. Obviously, I've been one of the people that have advocated for him to leave. We got to thank him for that championship, but it's time to go, man. It's time to go. Like the NFL, the NBA is turning into offensive league more than ever. So I think they got to get an offensive coach. They got to get someone that knows how to draw up plays, that won't just rely on LeBron and AD, that when they sit, the coach himself could draw up plays, could coach these players up and just generate easy buckets, because it doesn't look like we get any easy buckets right now. We need everything to be, a fast break or generated by LeBron or AD, ISOing. There's just no ball movement. There's nothing. There's no sense of an offense being run. And the defense, which is what Vogel was brought into, which is like his bread and butter. He's a defensive coach. The defense is atrocious. I don't know if he just lost the locker room. These players are just too old, or a combination of both. But they're not trying on defense. It's sad to watch. No one's really good battling for rebounds. Nobody's switching off players. A lot of bad teams are scoring a lot of points on us. We've allowed over 100 points in like 12 straight games. Something ridiculous like that. It's just an embarrassment. And honestly, if we got a clean house. Because like if Pelinka has to go, if Vogel has to go, like let's do it. Get rid of them. It's done. We have LeBron, we have AD, we have some pieces. Get somebody in here that could shuffle things up and make it work. Get an offensive coach that could help the team score buckets. This league is about scoring buckets. You're not going to be able to defend a lot of people. You got to get buckets. So if we get an offensive coach and someone that's strict, someone that's able to, inject some charisma and some effort into this team, I think we might have a chance next year. But the Lakers season's over, and, I just want to give a shout out to the Laker fans that stuck through the end. I know, it was a tough season, and there was a lot of fair weather fans that stopped watching the Lakers, stopped supporting them, stopped, just watching the games. And it's sad because, the Lakers just won a championship just 2 seasons ago. I think the Laker fans sometimes are spoiled with the history, with the expectations. And as soon as it goes bad, I don't see the crowd. I don't see the fans galvanizing around the team. It's just a lot of negativity and, not a lot of fandom. Like there's too much. Sometimes you just got to be a fan and support the team no matter what. Like obviously you got other stuff to do, but if you're a fan, like dude, tune in, watch him. I know it sucks. That's part of being a fan. That's why I'm a free agent NFL fan nowadays, because it's tough to be so invested into every team, like so many teams at once. But if you're a Laker fan, dude, like just I would say stick it out. It sucked watching these games, or I don't know. That's the way I feel. If you gave up on the season halfway through the year, that's on you. You could do that too, I guess. But we only have LeBron for so long. We only have AD for so long. Who knows what's gonna happen once LeBron retires? And I lived through those 7 years after, with the latter part of the late Kobe, rest in peace. And the years after that, I watched all those, like most of those games. I can't say all of them, but I watched most of the games. I lived through those years. This is more or less the same, but if you're a Laker fan, just support the team, man. But it is what it is. The season is over. Atrocious season. Hopefully we clean house. Hopefully we're able to, work some magic with the cap. We're still paying Luol Deng fucking money from whenever. Oh man, it's a terrible situation to be in. And I know some teams would wish for this. If you told some teams like, hey, you're gonna suck for 2 years before that championship or 7 years before the championship. But if you gave someone a 5-year window, 2 years sucking, or 1 year sucking, 1 year you get LeBron, you're decent, 1 year you win, and then 2 years after the win, you suck again. But you won 1 championship in 5 years. Most franchises would take that in a heartbeat. And obviously the Laker fans are a little spoiled. We have a lot of expectations. We have 17 championships to back us up for us to want those expectations. But like I said, I'm a Laker fan for life. And we go again next year. Giannis is a monster. He is the MVP this year again. He's going to be a 3-time MVP. The Bucks defeat the Nets 120-119 in one of the best games of the year, game of the year candidate. Incredible stuff. KD and Giannis going at it. Giannis ends up with 44 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, monster stat line. Chris Middleton gets ejected on a foul on a fast break. He only ended up with 16 points. Brook Lopez had a terrible game. Drew Holiday did decently. But it didn't matter because Giannis is the truth. Giannis is the man. There's a lot of people that have been talking. A lot of people, doing his name dirty. I'm looking at you, JJ Redick, saying that, it was Embiid, it was Jokic. It was KD, and then in the next group over, it was Giannis. That's just asinine. That's ridiculous stuff. Giannis is the best player in the world. He's the best two-way player in the world, and he's a monster, man. He's a monster. He's improved every single year. He could have won Most Improved the last 3 years to go along with his MVPs, to go along with his Finals MVPs. This guy is ridiculous. The fact that he scored a step back three to send the game into overtime just goes to show you the ridiculousness of this man. Like, he does not stop working. He doesn't settle. He keeps getting better and better. And then 2 clutch free throws in overtime, when free throws used to be like, just last playoffs, they were like clapping. They were distracting him in the playoffs because he couldn't make his free throws. And now he's raised his free throws to a respectable level. He is not really, it's not so much of a liability anymore. He could step up in pressure moments and make those free throws. Like, man, this guy, he's so inspirational. The way his story is so crazy, from being like a mop boy, mopping the sweat off the court when he was in Greece, and being drafted in the first round by the Bucks, looking up into the banners and saying, man, maybe in 10, 15, 20 years, my name could be there, up there with all the greats. And now he's the all-time leading scorer for the Bucks. He's duking it out with KD. He has 5 straight wins against KD. He's about to win his 3rd MVP. In my opinion, he should win it. It's just crazy, crazy stuff. The Nets and the Bucks, super entertaining game. I hope the Nets make it through the play-in and they get to play again. And I don't think the Bucks will duck away from anybody. I don't think Giannis, Middleton, Drew Holiday, any of them are built like that. I think they're, like, a lot of pundits are saying the teams at the top should try to lose, try to get that 3rd spot to, prevent any possibility of playing the Nets in the first round of the playoffs. Dude, I don't think the Bucks care, man. They're built differently, man. They have the championship pedigree. They're the reigning champions, and they have the biggest weapon in the NBA, Giannis Antetokounmpo, unstoppable force. There's nothing you could do to stop him, and he's only getting better. That's crazy, just crazy stuff. And for the Nets, man, the Nets are lucky because they're almost in the same spot as the Lakers. The Lakers, being so terrible, have kind of taken some of the news, the shockness away from the Nets. Obviously, Kyrie not being there for a lot of the season kind of took some of the attention away from them too, and the whole Harden trade and stuff gave a lot of reason for them to be this low. But even then, they should not be this low. I don't really have a lot of faith in the Nets. I don't have faith in the roster other than Durant and Kyrie, and then Seth Goran, Patty Mills. They're old. Patty Mills had some good games, but he's been struggling. Andre Drummond, not really much of an impact. Bruce Brown, he's pretty good, but I don't trust Steve Nash either. He's not a coach that draws up plays. He's kind of just, like, I don't want to be rude, but he's kind of just the puppet. He's kind of just there to keep the vibes, good. It doesn't really seem like he's coaching too much. But honestly, I think the Bucks repeat this year. I think Giannis is hands down the best player in the league, and I think the West is gonna be pretty tough. It's gonna be pretty tough for any team to make it to the finals. They're gonna be kind of beat up, and I do expect the Bucks to take care of the East and get back to the finals. And then whoever comes out of the West is gonna be a very tough. It's going to be a very tough finals. If we get a Suns versus Bucks rematch, I would not be opposed to that. The Suns have been great. They're like on 65, 66 win pace right now with a couple games left. And they've been missing some players too. But overall, like, I just want to come on here and praise Giannis Antetokounmpo for that game against the Nets. I know it was a back-to-back, and I think the Bucks got smoked by the Clippers the next day, but it didn't matter. Giannis, Middleton, Holiday, Lopez, I think almost everyone sat. So that game was irrelevant, but it was just great to see Antetokounmpo get his praises for being the all-time leading scorer for the Bucks. And that game versus the Nets was just ridiculous. It lived up to all the hype. It was hyped up like weeks in advance. Bucks versus Nets, especially when Kyrie got cleared to play and all that good stuff. Giannis making a late push for the MVP, beating Embiid earlier in the week, going against KD, like just he's cemented his MVP case, and I hope he wins his third one, man. I'm such a big fan of Giannis. He's probably my favorite player along with Luka. Those are my two favorite players in the NBA right now. And there's just not enough positive things I could say about Giannis. He's had a great season, and man, I hope he wins. I hope the Bucks repeat. And for the Nets, I do hope they make the playoffs because it'll be fireworks. Whoever gets them in the first round, Kyrie and KD against this would be the hardest. I know a lot of teams were calling the Blazers of 2 years ago, the ones that played against the Lakers, and the Lakers gentlemen sweep them. They were calling them the best 8 seed ever or something like that. The Nets will actually be the best 8 seed ever if they're the 8 seed. Like, to have to go up against KD and Kyrie in the first round, that's tough. But go Bucks. I hope Giannis repeats. And to conclude this episode, Kaepernick works out for the NFL in the halftime of the Michigan spring game. He did his thing. He threw some passes. He showed off that arm. He showed off his mobility. It was good to see him out there. Good for Kaepernick, who's trying to make a comeback to the NFL after, we all know how he fell out, how he got blackballed from the league, and how, the league basically conspired against him to not get another job, to not get another opportunity. And, he was willing to die on that hill. And, props to him for being an activist, bringing all that attention, to problems that we have in this world. And, it sucks that happened to him, but I do wish that he gets a job in the NFL again. My only fear is that it has been so long since he last played. And when he last played, he wasn't like the best. He was already kind of regressing from those years where he was just a monster with his legs, a monster with his arms. He had that Shanahan system going. He was leading the 49ers to NFC championships games, to Super Bowls. And, he was kind of the driving force behind that on offense. We had kind of, been like a year or two removed away from that, where he was just kind of dealing with some injuries. His game was regressing. It kind of looked like the Niners were looking to move on from him a little bit, even before Kaepernick did his activism stuff and kneeled for the Star Spangled Banner and all that stuff. It did look like, we could be seeing like, the downhill of Kaepernick. So I think it is going to be tough for some teams to take a chance on him. Obviously, with quarterbacks, with potential, with the way the NFL works, getting weapons, adding gadgets to your team. Obviously, we see Taysom Hill having a role. Who's to say Kaepernick can't play a similar role? He's a runner. He's known for putting his shoulder down. He's had big runs. He's shrugged people. He could play that role. I think even still today, he's a better thrower of the football than Taysom Hill. So, there's a lot of teams. Some of the speculation is that, a contender that has established quarterback might just bring in him to be, a Taysom Hill kind of player, play that role as a gadget player that you don't know what's going to happen when he's on the court. I mean, on the football field. The Seahawks, I think that's the most realistic chance of him having a chance to play some starter minutes. They only have Drew Lock. This quarterback class that's coming out of college is very, very, mid to say the least. At least a lot of teams have different opinions about all the quarterbacks that are coming out. So we got to see how it plays out, how the Seahawks view those players. If they would rather, take a chance with Drew Lock, who may have some potential, take a flyer with Kaepernick, and those two would be your bridge quarterbacks till at least the next year. Maybe the Seahawks won't mind if even Kaepernick plays bad, because then they'll have a higher draft pick next year. If they even have a pick, I would have to check that because they've been trading a lot of their picks. The Ravens have been another team. The Titans sent one of the scouts, I think. Even the Panthers might throw a little flyer on them. But, all these teams, honestly, I feel like it's a long shot. I'm glad that he's trying to come back to the league. I'm always a fan of people trying to make a comeback, putting in the work and trying to come back into the league when it's been a couple years since it played, especially Kaepernick, who kind of got blackballed. Yeah, he was, like I mentioned, he was kind of on the downside of his peak when he got blackballed from the league. But he was still more than good enough to be a starter in the league, or to at least get a backup role. Like we saw, the way he was playing, it was like around the Baker Mayfield level. And obviously he's struggling right now to find a job too, but Kaepernick deserved a chance in the NFL, and I just hope someone gives him a chance. But my fear is that it's been too long. It's just been too long since he actually played an NFL game. He's 34 years old, but quarterbacks play longer nowadays. And those years off might have helped Kaepernick. Who knows? Who's to say? I think the biggest chance he has of playing would be the Seahawks, who just have Drew Lock. Maybe they're not so hot on the quarterbacks this year, and they might just be happy to tank this season. They might just it'll be good PR for them. Like they'll be the team that gives Kaepernick the chance to come back into the league, and if he shines, if he does good, then great. And if he doesn't, if he plays decently and the team is just not good enough, then they get a high draft pick next year with the quarterbacks that are viewed as better than this year's draft class, and it's a win-win. But on and all, I'm just happy for Kaepernick trying to get back into the NFL. I wish him the best. I hope, maybe he has another one of these workouts and more team goes, and, he gets into one of these training camp rosters and he's able to, actually have a decent chance to make the league again. But happy for Kaepernick. And, I'm always going to remember Kaepernick as with those epic duels he had with the Seattle Seahawks, like in 2012, 2013. Those playoff games, those regular season games were, man, those were some of the best games I've seen. That's one of the best rivalries I've seen as far as like my lifetime. Like those Seahawks and Niner games were so hyped up, man. I remember like the Sunday Night Football game, the playoff games. Those were all like just a pleasure to watch. So if he's back in the league, I don't think it's a bad thing. Obviously, there's a lot of people that like are so close-minded and still would like. There's gonna be so many people that, if he does sign with the team, they're going to be like, oh, this is the reason I'm not going to watch the NFL. Like, I've been a loyal fan since 1942, but now that Kaepernick is back in the NFL, I'm going to not watch no more. To hell with those people. I'm hopeful that Kaepernick makes it back to the NFL, and, I'll be on the lookout to see if anyone signs him, because he did get blackballed and he deserves another chance. But that should do it for this episode of the Hard to Handle Sports Podcast. Like always, if you made it to the end, I appreciate you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And make sure you watch Alcaraz in the final tomorrow versus Casper Ruud. That's going to be fireworks. It's going to be great. If he wins his first Masters 1000 and it's the Miami Open at the age of 18. Ridiculous stuff. Can't wait for the NBA playoffs to get here. And the World Cup, man, the countdown has started. The draw is out. Super pumped up. Have a great rest of your day.